Over the past couple months, I poured everything I had into this dream bike build. And trust me, it was not all smooth sailing. I'm an idiot. Get ready for the full story right now. All the highs, all the lows, the lessons learned. Was building this dream bike a complete failure? Let's get into it. This is the Privateer 141 Gen 2. And this is gonna be my first time building a bike completely from the frame up. So I've got all sorts of questions right now, like, what are all the parts I need? Are there any specialty tools that I don't have that I'm gonna need to build this complete bike? Like a headset press? Definitely gonna need one of those. Dang it. I am not a professional mechanic or some sort of pro rider. I'm just an average guy like you building a bike for my first time. So these are all questions that are just kind of running through my mind. But the biggest question of all is, did I choose the right frame? This is a Privateer 141 Gen 2 frame set. It's got 141 millimeters of rear suspension travel, massive enduro bearings, flip chip on there so you can easily run that mullet setup. Plus it's got the adjustable rear center that allows you to shorten those chain stays. Look at that beefy chain guard on there. Got that down tube protection, removable bash guard mounts on it. Some pretty cool features. Plus this bike has what I consider to be like the perfect geometry for a trail bike, with a nice slack 64.5 degree head tube angle, steep 78.5 degree seat tube angle, a 485 reach on this P3 or size large. And I'm gonna throw a 150 fork on this thing, so it's definitely gonna be in that trail bike suspension range. Yep. But I'm gonna beef it up with some more enduro, like gravity focused style parts. And my goal for this bike is really to have the best of both worlds, you know, that trail bike suspension travel and agility with that downhill enduro bike smashing capability. Combine the two together and you get what I'm calling the Trail Duro bike. Did I just make that up? Probably just a fancy way of saying all mountain. Let me know in the comments if you've ever heard anybody use Trail Duro to describe a mountain bike. Before we go any further, I need to make one thing clear. This video is not sponsored. There's no company paying me to make these videos or paying me to show you any of, this frame or any of these parts. However, over the years, me making these videos, I've developed some pretty good relationships with people at a few key bike companies. And I reached out to those bike companies to see if they would support this build. So some of the parts you're gonna see were given to me for free. Some of the parts I just got like a really big discount on, and other parts are parts that I have from previous bike builds and videos that I've done in the past. I do have links down there in the video description. They are affiliate links, or sometimes they're affiliate links that do help support the channel. And I always ask companies to leave me discount codes. So hop down in there and see if there's any discount codes that could benefit you guys, because at the end of this day, this video isn't about like trying to sell you guys on parts. I'm just an average dude making videos that I love, hopefully helping you out. But we still have to answer one of the key questions in this video. Why did I choose the Privateer 141? So I've been working with Hunt Wheels for a while now, and some of you might already know that Hunt Wheels and Privateer bikes are owned by the same UK-based company. So when I heard about the 141 Gen 2, I started looking at Privateer bikes, checking out their online website, and immediately I just fell in love. Absolutely. I mean, they got the trail bike, the 141, and then they have an enduro bike, the Privateer 161, and a dirt jumper. And that's it. Straight gravity focused, party, fun having mountain bikes and a dirt jumper. I mean, what more could you really need? And I just knew that this frame was going to be perfect not only for this build series, but for a YouTube creator like me that's always testing parts. You see, I love that external cable routing. It's going to allow me to swap out different, brakes and dropper posts and try different parts and components as I make my videos. I love the fact that it's got that, flip chip minnow links that that my Polygon bikes don't have, which is gonna allow me to easily go between mullet and full 29er setups. Plus, it's got that adjustable rear center that'll allow me to kind of play with different like chainstay lengths and test that out. Adjustable rear center is super easy. See how the arrow's that way right there? You just remove this through axle. It's got one on the other side as well. Remove that little flip chip right there, and then remove the derailleur hanger. Pop that out. Boom. Put the derailleur hanger up into the shorter position. Flip that arrow the opposite way. Flip it the opposite way on the through axle side as well. And boom. Just shorten your chainstays. That's something you could even do trail side. Another cool thing that Privateer sends an extra derailleur hanger. So not UDH people are gonna lose their mind. It's not the universal derailleur hanger, but instead of going universal, they decided to go with this kind of, you know, adjustable rear center, which, you know, didn't let them run the UDH, but I still like it. And you get that extra derailleur hanger as well. But I did have a couple concerns, like, what parts was I gonna choose to go on this bike, and how much was that gonna cost? Also, how much is this trail duro bike gonna weigh? I want a bike that performs good, looks amazing, and I'm no weight weenie, but looking at the Privateer website, and it shows an approximate weight of the 141 complete build at 17.3 kilograms, which is just over 38 pounds on American scales. That's not light. So is this bike gonna be too heavy? Does weight even matter? How's this bike gonna perform on the trail? I won't know the answer to those questions until I get this bike all built up and get it out on the trails. I have most of the parts, so let's go ahead. We're gonna go over all the parts I have for this bike so far, but stay tuned because there's a couple key parts I still don't have and I need your help choosing them. I have the frame, obviously, you guys are kind of already been looking at that. We have these proven carbon enduro wheels. You see how I'm throwing more enduro style parts on it. These are the proven wheels I had off a previous video I did with the Maxxis tires. These were given to me for free by Hunt as well. I have a Fox Factory 36 fork. Ooh, that's gonna look so good on this bike, right? This I actually paid for with my own money. I bought this in the past for a bike build I did on a Trek Fuel EX that I sold to be able to give my son his bike. Also got a coil shock. That's right, I'm pulling the air shock out and throwing that coil shock in. And you better believe I'm gonna do some coil versus air shock videos on this bike in the future. No build would be complete without the Fox transfer post to match up in that Kashima coating. For the bars, getting the Trail One Crockett carbon bars, Trail One pedals. These are the newest Sage alloy pedals. Yes, I am supported by Trail One. Not sponsored, but the company, you know, Jeff and the guys at Worldwide Cyclery and Trail One, just awesome dudes who help support me and help me make these videos. Got the Rockville stem as well. I'm gonna be taking out these oil slick bolts that come on it. I got some additional little gold stem bolts on there to kind of match more with that Kashima coating. Those are the gold rotor bolts as well. So gold stem and rotor bolts. We got the Fox transfer remote lever right here to go with that transfer post. Got the Trail One Hell's Gate grips to go on those Trail One bars. My very favorite grips, super beefy, extra padding, downhill smashing enduro style grips. And we got that wireless derailleur upgrade kit that I just recently reviewed in my EDS 2.0 video. And the last little bit and piece I got for this bike is this 141 has a tool mount area. So I reached out to Crank Bros and they gave me this tool right here that I'm gonna mount on the bike. I think that'll fit. We'll try that out. I have always wanted to do like a dream bike style layout like this. Man, I'm so pumped on this. But there's still a few things that I'm missing. Brakes, rotors, cassette, you know, the complete drivetrain. Is there anything else I'm missing? I'm sure there's gonna be little bits and pieces that I'm missing, like, I don't know, maybe like the top cap for that stem right there. Leave a comment down below. Have you guys ever done a complete bike build like this before? If so, I could definitely use your advice. I'm thinking about going with some gold TRP brakes to match those kind of like Kashima colors on the bike, but what do you guys think? I remember being so stoked about that Kashima, that orange, the way this build was looking, how everything was coming together. I could really start to picture in my head, but I had no idea about the struggles that were gonna come, the lessons I would have to learn, and what it would take to get this dream bike built and ready to ride. That's all in this next video, but before we get into that, I got one question for you. How do you guys feel about YouTube memberships? I've been thinking about doing YouTube memberships, and here's how it would go down. So I would make sure that all members get early access to any of my videos. I usually have these, you know, posted at least a few days before they go out to the public, along with early access to the videos. I'm thinking about doing some behind the scenes videos on like how I make these YouTube videos. Also, I could do some, you know, war stories. I'm a combat vet with 3 combat deployments to Afghanistan, so maybe I could give you guys, you know, just a little bit deeper look at who I am and give you some of those stories I have from my previous combat deployments. But let me know what you guys think. Memberships, yes, no, comment down below. Let's get into the next video. Today, I'm building a dream bike. I'm about halfway through this build. This thing is looking so sick. You guys are not gonna wanna miss this one. If you guys saw my last video, I was basically asking if building a dream bike like this is actually worth it. And in today's video, we're gonna put that to the test and start building this bike. This is the Privateer 141 Gen 2 frame set. Let me show you some of the cool features about this frame and why I like it so much. So first of all, it's got 141 millimeters of rear suspension travel, massive enduro bearings on that rocker link right there. It's got the flip chip, and you can see right there, can go between the 27.5 and the 29-inch wheels, so you can run that mullet setup. It's also got this, what they call the adjustable rear center, to where you can basically shorten the chain stays. You can see how that flips around to make the chain stays like a little bit longer, or just a little bit shorter on this bike. Pretty cool. You can see, you know, there goes a little bit of internal cable routing right there for the rear shifter. Massive chain guard. But then when that cable comes out right there, it's external cable routing the rest of the way, which some of you guys might not want on your bike, but for a creator like me that's always testing different parts and components, I think I'm gonna like having this setup. Now let me show you guys some of the parts and components I'm throwing on this bike. I'm swapping out that rear shock, and I'm actually throwing this coil Fox DHX2 rear shock on there. Just want that coil shock for that more gravity focused style riding I'm doing. You can see right there I'm throwing the Fox transfer post on there. Little Kashima touch, maybe unnecessary, but I think it's gonna look great. Got the Fox transfer post, dropper post lever as well. Got the Trail 1 stem I'm gonna be throwing on there with the Trail 1 carbon bars as well. Trail 1 pedals. These are the new Sage alloy Trail 1 pedals. Nice looking pedals. I think they're gonna look good on there. And then I got the Trail 1 Hell's Gate grips. You can notice a lot of black components, so I'm trying not to go overboard with the chrome and the orange, because look at the fork I'm throwing on this thing. Fox factory 36 fork Kashima on there. Got the proven carbon wheels with the Maxxis tires, my very favorite combo, with the DHR2 in the rear. And then I'm throwing the Assegai tire up front. Now I'm throwing other little bits and pieces on there, like these, you know, orange headset spacers. Got this Crank Bros T17 tool, on-frame tool for some on-bike tool storage. But here's the catch. I still don't have all the parts I need to complete this build. There's a couple key parts I'm missing, one of which is brakes. And I got a shipping notification that I got a brand new set of gold TRP Pro brakes, the brand new brakes from TRP that were just released on March 3rd. So the time I'm filming this video, not sure when you're actually watching it, but got those brakes coming in the mail. I have, a couple other parts I'm missing, but I think we got to get building, like get this bike put together as much as we can right now, and then we'll talk about it. Okay, so my friend Zach just showed up. He is a professional bike mechanic. He brought over some of the tools I don't have and this XG chain that I'm gonna need right here. But the goal of this video is for me to try and do this frame up build myself and just be completely honest and real with you guys. If I'm having any struggles, kind of show you guys what I'm going through. And if you guys are interested in doing a frame up build yourself, then you guys will know that, like, if I can do it, you can do it too. Set it on there. Okay, got it. Okay, let's get that. The top one's going in. I guess the bottom one will kind of pull in afterwards. So I started to twist it right there and it went in, it started going in a little bit crooked. So like I was asking Zach, like, should I just keep twisting? Like, what do you do at that point?
Sometimes, I move this whole piece of
Oh, move it a little bit.
That, and then once it...
And then kind of get the pressure going. Oh, okay. So he slid it, instead of just like wrenching on that thing and freaking jamming it in and messing up your frame, he kind of just slid that forward a little bit. Then you keep twisting. So now back off on it a little bit.
Center it again.
Recenter it.
Yep, like that, and then...
There we go. Okay.
Now it's all the way in. Yep.
So now it's good. Now it's good. I've seen other people just kind of like wrench that thing the whole way, and you can see the cups kind of like going in crooked, and they just keep pushing and pushing and pushing, which I guess gets it done, but probably not the best way to do it. So, all right, that's kind of cool, doing that for the very first time, installing a headset. So got it in there. Is it in there all the way in the top though? Yeah. Okay. Headset's in there. Nice. So got that in there, and then we can go ahead and get that fork pre-installed. I'm gonna clean up the top of this fork just a tiny bit. So this is, if you guys didn't watch my last video, I kind of explained, this fork was off of my dream bike I did when I had my Fuel EX that I built up with this fork. Ton of amazing parts, but I had to get rid of that bike because I wanted to get my son his dream bike. So this is a fork that I've already used. One little thing is, like, when I cut my steer tubes down, I always keep, I don't cut them like all the way down and drop the stem all the way down to the frame right here. I keep some extra headset spacers in there. First of all, I like my stem up a little bit, but even if I'm gonna drop my stem down, I'll keep additional headset spacers on top of the stem. I'll show you here in a little bit, because I like to keep my steer tube long for two reasons. One, it helps for resale in the fork, more people can fit it. And two, when you put it into a new frame like this, still got enough steer tube, you can see right there, and it's still gonna work. Oh, perfect. Oh, that's like fucking right there, dude. Look at that. Perfect. One spacer underneath right there, and right to the top. Money. Except for the stem is flipped upside down. Boom. There we go. Trail one. Oh man, that is already looking so damn good. Sick. All right, now we're gonna get this shock on there, because I wanna see the full kind of like orange. It's gonna look good, man. Ah, don't break stuff, come on now. So this shock hardware right here, I need to order an additional set, because eventually in the future I'm gonna do, some air versus coil shock videos on this bike. But for right now, I'm just gonna remove this shock hardware off of this one right here. This came off pretty easy. All right, now we gotta get it installed onto this shock. Whew, got that all on there. Let's get this thing installed. That shock looks so badass on there. I'm loving this build. All right, let's get the bottom bracket thrown in, then we'll move on to the cockpit. We'll start getting some of the rest of this bike thrown together. We'll speed up the build process just a little bit right now, and I'll kind of stop and show you guys if I run into any issues. Bike is looking so badass. It's coming together. Everything's going even smoother than expected. And I just got shipping notification. I think the brakes are here. Let me go grab them. What? No freaking way, you guys. So you can't make this shit up. Like, so this right here, this is the box from TRP. These are the TRP brakes. We'll get to that here in just a minute. But I got this other box from Garbaruk that I think is the crankset, and this wasn't supposed to come for another couple of days, so I don't know, did they only send like part of it? I gotta get this thing unboxed. I wanna find out and see if the complete crankset is in here, and I'm so pumped to show you this crankset, but actually I'm a little bit nervous as well because I ordered it from them and I told them like the colors that I wanted, but they didn't have, like I wasn't ordering from the website where I could like see the colors I was picking, or they didn't give me like an example because it's kind of like a custom color set, like a black and orange look. Let's check this out. This is the Garbaruk Enduro crankset right here. So there goes the cranks. Ooh, there goes, dang, that cassette is light. And that's the Garbaruk cassette right there. Okay, what else we got in here? We should have a chain ring. Woo! Oh, I forgot I ordered those. I totally forgot it. I ordered the orange pulley wheels, orange chain ring, and then the cassette. Yes. Got the cassette with the orange on the cassette as well, kind of holding that in place right there, but yes. All right, let's take a look at these cranks. Oh, yes. Look at that. That's gonna look so sick. The black and the orange on that bike with the black. We gotta get this installed. Okay. So freaking sick. Yes. Okay, I'm an idiot. I don't have the tool for this. So remember I told you guys I was gonna be honest if I ran into snags. So this right here, if you can see that, it's got, you know, large hole. I thought it would, like my 10 mil hex would fit in there, but not big enough. So went ahead and looked on Garbaruk's website, and it says that you need a 12 mil. So I need a 12 mil hex to be able to install these. I'm gonna have to run down to like Harbor Freight or something real quick, grab that tool, and then get these things installed. Hopefully they're still open. Shit. All right, so Harbor Freight, they had this set right here, but you know, they had a 12 mil, but it is only in a 1/2 inch drive and you had to buy the entire set. I couldn't buy just an individual socket. Luckily it was Harbor Freight, so the prices weren't totally out of control, but fuck, it's like $44 for that. So in hindsight, I should have looked ahead of time on the tools required to install the Garbaruk crankset, and I probably should have just ordered an individual, you know, 12 mil hex, but now I got extra. So, you know, add them to the tool set, have them when you need them. Having to use this breaker bar because it was a 1/2 inch driver, so it doesn't fit on my torque wrench. I know, I'm gonna get some hate in the comments for using this breaker bar instead of a torque wrench, but sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do and just be honest with those watching. I'm not a professional mechanic, but you know what? 50 Newton meters of torque is just like a decent amount of torque. I've done it on my cassettes in the past, so I'm just gonna get that on there like that. That's pretty damn tight, you know what I mean? So I think that's gonna be good enough. All right, now we got to get that cassette installed on that wheel right there. Those cranks look so sick on there. With that cassette, man, so much goes into kind of picking out all these parts. I was a little bit worried about the oranges not matching up perfectly, which, you know, when you go from a painted orange to an anodized orange, they're never gonna match perfect, but man, I think it looks so good, especially because, you know, you got that gold Kashima with the orange, with those. Anyways, enough about the cranks. Let's get those brakes unboxed because these are the newest TRP DHR Evo Pro brakes. I feel like I was super lucky to get my hand on these, so thank you to Kevin over at TRP and my boys from Privateer for kind of making that connection and being able to make this possible. These brakes were just released on Tuesday. I'm a smaller YouTuber, so I don't get my hands on brand new components like this all the time, but you can see right there the Evo Pro. We'll go ahead and get these unboxed in just a minute, but let me just show you kind of the setup I'm going with. Got a 180 rotor I'm sticking with in the rear, and then I'm gonna go with the 203 up front. That one's not actually marked right there, but I'm assuming that's gonna be the 203. So with that 203 rotor, of course, I got the brake post mount adapter for the Fox 36 fork right there, so it'll fit the 203 rotor. And then it came with, I got the basic bleed kit, so I got the bleed kit syringe right there, the TRP mineral oil that it came with. Then Kevin also sent over the adapters so I could clean up the cockpit and mount that shifter and that brake dropper post lever right to the brake levers, but let's get these unboxed. Oh, look at that. The gold lever right there, the gold with the black. Man, that is such a good looking lever. So same 4-piston caliper as the DHR Evos, only they've adjusted the lever on these ones. I think it looks a little bit better too, just a little bit smaller maybe. They got this pad adjustment knob right here that adjusts how the brake pads hit the brake rotor, and then they have the same old adjustment for the lever right there. Let's get these things installed on the bike. Gonna look so sick. Yeah, buddy, that's gonna work. The brakes are installed, the build is complete. I worked late last night to get this thing all finished up. Now it's time to take a look at this bike and I'll go over some of the struggles I had completing this build. Woo! That thing is looking so good out here in the sunlight. Now this entire build series was kind of focused around the question, is building a dream bike worth it? And I can tell you, as far as like working on your bike yourself, building it from the frame up, picking out every single part and having that one-of-a-kind custom build that only you have, every part exactly the way you want it, it's absolutely worth it. I learned a lot building this thing. I did have a couple issues. I still need to figure out the spacing on these cranks. I'm not sure if that's right. I need to get the wireless derailleur set up and shifting just right. I still need to get the suspension dialed in. I put the brakes on, but I need to do a little lever bleed just to make sure there's no air bubbles in there. Oh, one cool thing on the shifting, man, I rigged up this shifter right here, this EDS OXYQ, this 2.0 EDS. It's not designed to go right onto the bar remote, but I kind of rigged together using the dropper post lever off the Fox remote and got this thing on here. It looks so cool. I'm stoked on that. Yeah, buddy, that's gonna work. Now, one of the good things about the wireless shifters is that because the trigger action is so light, you don't have to have it in the exact perfect position because it just takes a little tap of a thumb to get that thing shifting right. I think the setup's right. I'm probably gonna have to dial in those levers in that cockpit just a little bit more. But as far as like picking out the parts, building the bike, seeing what I envisioned in my head come to life, it was absolutely worth it. But I know what a lot of you guys are asking, like, was it worth it? The price, like, was the price actually worth it? So let's go over what I paid for this total price, and then we'll go over what it's actually worth. All right, so total price I paid to build this bike, and then what would it cost for you to go out there and build this yourself? Now remember, I had a couple of these parts left over from other builds. Other parts were given to me. Thank you to those companies that supported this video. And a couple of the parts I just got for a huge discount. So for these TRP Pro brakes right here, I paid a total of $479.14. For the SLS coil right here, didn't really get a discount on that. I paid $117. For the Fox transfer post, the DHX2 shock, not the coil, just the shock itself, I ended up paying $509, which put me at an all-in price of $1,105.14 is what I spent to do this complete build. But that's not how much it actually cost. And can we just address the price real quick when it comes to building a dream bike? Because building a dream bike like this, you know, it's not about finding the most affordable way or the most reasonable way. It's definitely not a financially smart decision. You're gonna spend a ton of money. You could spend way less money going online to the Privateer website. They got the 141 complete build on sale right now. I'll throw a link down there in the description. So if you wanna make the smart financial decision, just go online, buy the bike completely. You know, the complete build comes with amazing parts already on it, already comes with proven wheels, already comes with Maxxis tires, already comes with, you know, a good shock, not a coil, comes with a Fox fork, not the factory model, but it comes with good enough parts, and then you could slowly upgrade that over time. That's definitely the smarter way to do it. But if you're gonna do this, you're gonna spend, let me go over the list real quick. You're gonna spend, what I totaled it up is I went online and I searched each one of these parts and I came up with a total cost of around $8,613. Oh man, which is just a ridiculous amount of money. But I don't know, what do you guys think? Like, have you ever done a dream build? If so, how much did it cost? And was it worth it? Now, to really figure out if it was worth it, we need to get this bike out on the trails and take it for a shred. So in the next video, I'm gonna take this thing out for a ride. I'm gonna be bombing this thing down the hills, getting it all broke in, getting that suspension set up, and I'll really be able to tell you if I think this was worth it. Did I pick the right parts? Am I gonna like the way that coil shock feels? The cranks, all these components. It's a little nerve-wracking when you're picking all these parts. So tune into that next video. Now's a good time if you haven't already. Like, subscribe, catch that next video. You're not gonna wanna miss it. Seeing this bike for the first time like that, out in the sunlight, I was so stoked with the way the build came out, but I have to be honest with you guys. I had so much to cover during that video, going over the build process, trying to let you guys know why I chose the parts, putting everything together, building a bike from the frame up my very first time. I way underestimated how long that would take. I definitely underestimated how hard it would be to shoot the video, trying to reposition the camera a bunch of different times and get all the right angles to kind of show you the build and going through the process. There was so much footage I ended up having to leave out, or else the video would have been like an hour long. Those Garber cranks and those TRP brakes showed up like right in the middle of filming, so that kind of threw things off. I definitely started to rush towards the end because I knew I had to get this bike built if I wanted to be able to take it out on a ride and make that next ride video. And that ultimately was my downfall, led to some huge mistakes that I cover in this video right here. So I built my dream bike, but I messed up 3 things pretty bad, and I have to fix them all before I can take this bike out on its very first ride. Here's what went wrong. The brakes. These are the newest TRP Evo Pro brakes. I was super excited to get these things mounted up on the bike. These are some of the newest brakes on the market, so I was really excited to see how these things performed. And with that black and gold color on there that matched great with that Kashima, I knew these were just gonna look amazing and really have that kind of dream bike vibe. The installation went pretty smooth, but then I decided to do a lever bleed just to make sure everything was set up right. And that's when I realized my very first f up. For any of you guys that have kids in the room, this video contains quite a bit of bleeped out cuss words. I usually try and avoid using those and keep my videos like family friendly, but sometimes it's just the best way to describe what you're going through. So TRP sends you this little piece right here to do a lever bleed. The brakes came pre-bled, but it's good, you know, or they recommend just to do a little lever bleed on there to make sure you get any little air bubbles out of the system. So starting on the rear brake side, everything went smooth. I removed the bleed port screw. I screwed this little piece in there with a bit of hydraulic fluid in it, pulled the top off. Oops, dropped a little bit of fluid on there. Pulled that top off and went ahead and started squeezing that lever, got those additional air bubbles out of there, and everything was going good, right according to plan. But then I moved over onto the left hand or front brake side for us Americans, the way we ride. So I went over to this left hand side, did the same thing, removed the bleed port screw, screwed this little piece in there, went to start doing the little lever bleed on the brakes, and brake fluid was just leaking out of the hydraulic hose where it connects right in here into this little, this bolt right here. What's the name of that bolt? The compression nut. Yeah, that's what it's called, the compression nut. This little compression nut right here. So the fluid was just leaking out of there as I squeezed that. And I was like, damn, what the heck is wrong? I must have done something wrong when I installed these things. So I went ahead, I removed that compression nut, and sure enough, inside, the little olive in there that's supposed to, you know, be pushed straight in to really lock off that seal, that olive was just completely smashed in there. I guess I must have gotten busy. Either I was like rushing, screwing that compression nut in, or maybe I was just too busy trying to film and make the video at the same time and I wasn't paying close enough attention, but I had that thing smashed in there, so of course it wasn't gonna get a seal. That little olive was actually a pain to take back out. I had to grab a set of pliers, like get a hold of it and kind of screw the compression nut off of there. Now, luckily for me, TRP sends an extra little bag of goodies, so they had an extra little olive. I was able to get that olive on there, throw it back in, put the brake together, complete the lever bleed, and now I think these brakes are ready to roll. But there's still two more things I had to fix on this bike, which leads me to up number 2. The cranks, or more like the crank spacing. You see, on this bike for the drivetrain, I'm running the Garbaruk Enduro cranks with the Garbaruk oval chainring and a SRAM dub bottom bracket. Now, I wasn't quite sure what spacers I should put on there because you have to space your cranks out so you get the correct chain line on your bike. I initially went with SRAM's recommendation, which was no spacers on the non-drive side and one thicker spacer on the drive side. But I could tell by looking at it that the cranks were just way too far out. You could look at that chain ring and see that the chain ring was like almost lined up with the smallest cog. And from everything I could find on, you know, the chain line and getting it spaced right, is it should be somewhere near the middle. So I had a friend come over and help me who had a little bit more experience than me. We kind of had to do like trial and error, and basically just like knowing that that was too wide or was too far out, had to just, you know, take the cranks apart, put in a smaller spacer, try it again. Take the cranks apart, put in even less spacers, try it again, and I think we got it dialed in just about right. That chain line is looking much better now, but I don't know. Have you guys ever installed cranks yourself? If so, how did you know how many spacers to add? While you're answering that, it's time to move on to up number 3. Derailleur adjustment. Derailleur. And this one, you guys, it's actually embarrassing. Like, have you ever had an issue when you're installing something on a bike and you look right over the obvious answer and you end up chasing, you know, a problem down the rabbit hole, and then when you finally get someone else to take a look at it, you realized the answer is just so damn simple? That's pretty much what happened here. So for the shifting, I'm using, you know, the newest Wheeltop EDS 2.0. If you guys haven't seen the video to that, I'll throw a link up top right here. And with that, that's a wireless upgrade kit. So wireless derailleur, wireless shifter. And with that, I'm running the Garbaruk cassette to match with that orange, you know, 12-speed cassette, and it's on a microspline free hub. So I got the Shimano XT chain on there, which this thing should shift great, but you got to get it set up right first. I followed the Shimano recommendation for sizing a 12-speed chain, but something just wasn't right. The chain was way too loose, so I tried shortening the chain, but then the chain was like way too tight when it got up into that highest gear. In fact, it wouldn't even get into the 12th gear, or I guess is that gear 1 or is that gear 12? The first gear, that highest cog, it wouldn't get into that biggest cog at all. So I was thinking like, damn, the chain was too long, but I shortened it. Did I cut it too short? Is that why it's not like shifting into that highest gear? And then I was looking at the derailleur cage, and I have one of these other, the Wheeltop EDS 1.0, and the derailleur cage almost looked longer on the 1.0. It was definitely a different derailleur cage for sure, and I thought, did they accidentally send me the wrong derailleur cage? Because Wheeltop does have multiple different lengths for this, so you can run it, you know, on an 11-speed drivetrain. And I just was thinking, maybe there's a chance they sent me the wrong one. So like an idiot, you know, chasing that rabbit down the hole, I switched out the derailleur cage. I tried the other one. It still wasn't shifting right. I contacted EDS, or contacted Wheeltop, I'm sorry, and they let me know, no, we sent you the right derailleur cage. So there's only one thing left to do at this point. It's like, bring it to the pro mechanic at the bike shop. And when I got down to that bike shop, the pro mechanic there named Zach was like, bro, did you do the initial setup on this thing? Idiot. I actually tried adjusting the limit screws, but the Wheeltop EDS is set up a little bit different than most standard derailleurs. The high limit set screw is right there, you know, in the spot you would find it on most other derailleurs, but the low limit set screw is actually behind this cover right here. And then you use this button right here on the back of the shifter. You hold that button for 5 seconds. You see that light turn green, and that's how it gets into its micro shift mode. You can also go on the app, and in this app, it'll allow you to actually tune each individual gear on there to really fine tune the shifting on that cassette. And these are all things I should have done myself, but just kind of overlooked all those steps. In just the amount of time it took for me to sit there and realize what an idiot I was, Zach had already worked through that entire setup process. You know, probably took him like 5 minutes to get this thing completely tuned, and sure enough, the chain was shifting right up into that highest cog. So did I feel like an idiot? Yes, absolutely. But the important thing now is that the bike is set up, it's all ready to shred. So in my very next video, I'm finally gonna take this thing out, hit the trails, let you guys know if building a dream bike was actually worth it. Now's a good time to like, subscribe, and let me know. Do you guys appreciate more just like straight, honest, open videos like this, where I just let you know all the things that I f***ed up? I think a lot of things, you know, or a lot of the other like YouTubers that I've seen in the past, I feel like they hide their mistakes. And so I just want to do something different. Just be honest with you guys. Like, I'm not a pro mechanic. I'm not a pro rider. I'm just an average dude next door who likes to upgrade his bikes, built his dream bike for the very first time, ran into a couple new problems, you know, but at the end of the day, these videos are all about helping you maybe not make the same mistakes. So let me know if you guys appreciate it. See you on the next one. I was so happy right there. Finally had this bike fixed up, ready to take it out on its very first ride. I thought, you know, all the problems were behind me, but man, was I wrong. I was really hoping the first ride on my dream bike was gonna go a lot different, but it didn't, you guys. That thumbnail, it's not for views, it's not for clicks. I could care less, you know, just gotta be real with you guys. This first ride was a freaking disaster. Ow. Oh, that hurt. Sometimes you just gotta know when to call it quits. Ah, shit. And I almost halfway expected it, you know? I mean, I know the trails around my house. I know that they're still covered in snow, but it's been, you know, raining and sunny, kind of on and off for the past few days, and it hasn't snowed in a few weeks. So I guess I just thought, wishful thinking that I might be able to find a couple, dry patches in the trails, enough to be able to get out on this bike, take it for a first, few laps to really kind of get some of the kinks worked out, test this thing and see, like I said, the whole time throughout this build, if it was actually worth it. Now, if you guys haven't watched any of my previous videos building this bike, I'll throw a link at the end of this video to those, or you guys can just subscribe right now. Go ahead and check my channel for those videos. And who am I, right? My name is Jared. This is a Jared Hoff channel, and my goal of making these videos is not to try and sell you guys on any of this that I have. I'm just an average guy, that dude next door that loves upgrading his bike, out there riding it. I think I have at least like an average, maybe slightly above average riding skill. Definitely far from any kind of pro level, but I think I can give you guys like an honest review, no bullshit opinion from an average rider like you on if building a dream bike like this, if the parts and components I test are actually worth it. But this first ride with these trails completely covered in snow, it's not a good way to be able to let you guys know if it's worth it or not. This ride kind of turned into a failure, but there are at least a couple things that I figured out on this bike, a couple things that I like, and a couple things that I'm still kind of questionable about. Let's get into it. So what do I like? Starting right away with this Crank Bros twin tube. So it's got tubes on both sides. So it's got one on this side right over here that allows you to store, any additional bits and pieces. It's got some plugs in there, tire plugs in there as well. And then the tube on this side has got the Crank Bros multi-tool in there that I already used to go ahead and adjust the seat. When you take your bike out on your first ride, you're definitely gonna want a multi-tool with you to make those little fine adjustments, things you got wrong, like maybe adjusting the levers to get them to the right angle or anything like that. And it's just good to have a multi-tool with you, period, when you're riding back here in the woods. So definitely like that Crank Bros T17 twin tube multi-tool. And you guys, like I said, my goal is not to sell you guys on these parts, but I always ask companies. Crank Bros did send this to me, didn't pay me to review it, but I said, hey, if you're gonna send it to me, give me a discount link for my subscribers and viewers. So if you guys check the video description, I always try and include discount links in there. I got a discount link for the Crank Bros and discounts for a couple other things on here, as well as privateer bikes. So thank you to the companies for giving me those discount links. It's really going to help you guys out. If you guys want to get right to the twin tube tool, you guys can click that link and give you a little discount. All right, what I liked, the second thing that I liked on this bike, and this one kind of surprised me. All right, so dropper post and dropper post lever. I have to be honest, I chose the Fox transfer post because of the Kashima coating, and it matches with the Kashima coating on that fork. I knew it was gonna look amazing. And I've had other high-end, P&W dropper posts in the past, but this has gotta be, the lightest action and the most forcible pop you get on a dropper post that I have ever experienced. This is the newest version. Let me get that stick in there. This is the newest updated version of the Fox transfer post. So they made it a little bit easier to service on, but I don't know if they've always performed this well. I haven't ran this Kashima coating post, and I don't think the Kashima coating is, the reason why it's actioning so easy, but I think they did a really good job designing this Fox transfer post and getting this thing, to action super light and pop up super easy. Loving this transfer post. Well, I'm here touching this saddle. I love the saddle. A lot of the little contact points I already knew that I would like. So the number 3 thing that I like so far are those contact points. Got the Hell's Gate Trail 1 Hell's Gate grips right here. Nice beefy grips, lots of padding, really good grip on there. Got the SDG Bel Air V3 saddle, nice amount of padding, just the right amount of padding on the back without overdoing it. And I got this in like the larger size, whatever the larger width is, fits my sit bones pretty dang good. All right, now the final thing that I really like so far riding this bike is the brakes. Now the brakes, I tested them the other day when I was doing a drone video. So I haven't got to test them out that much on a really steep downhill yet, but just the throw, how easy these brakes are to just squeeze in. It's super light action, yet really powerful. And then you got that additional adjustment right there, the pad adjustment lever, plus that lever adjustment right there for the reach. And it's just really easy to get these brakes set up exactly the way you want. I love the way they look, yes, but I'm loving the way those brakes feel as well. Now let's move on to a couple questionable things. The cranks, right? And the overall drivetrain on this bike. I still am not confident that I have those cranks spaced right, because when I backpedal, it almost wants to drop the chain. That's not good. The oval chain ring on there. This is my first time running an oval chain ring. I couldn't really tell the difference, to be honest with you. The wireless shifting on here, yes, it's shifting super crisp. I love, you know, how easy it is to action that and you shift right up the cog with ease. But I think, you know, it was making a couple noises as it was shifting, so I think I need to get that shifting dialed in just a little bit more. And then these Trail One pedals right here, these are the new Trail One Sage alloy pedals right here. Let me give you a little bit better perspective on that. Trail One Sage alloy pedals. So, you know, only time will tell. These are alloy pedals, got, you know, big pins on there. So of course they're gripping good, but I'm gonna have to do a little bit more testing to see if I like these pedals. Good grip so far, they're wet. My shoes are covered in mud, so good grip so far, but you know, need to get a little bit more rides in, a couple more rides in to see how I'm liking that. Also, the fact that this is a size large with the 485 reach, usually I'm riding a size extra large, so I liked the way it felt the other day when I was testing the drone out and I was hitting like the Ninja kicker ramp. I liked the way it felt over jumps. I like the way it feels climbing on the way uphill because the bike's a little bit more nimble and easier for me to kind of whip around. But we'll see when I get to some really high speed downhill runs if that 485 reach is a little bit too short and not quite stable enough for a guy like me that's 6'2". Now, of course, I need a couple more rides to get that coil shock dialed in just right. I got the factory recommended settings on there. Same thing with the fork. I got the factory recommended settings on there. Brand new bikes, when I take them out, I start with those factory recommended settings. I wait for a couple rides to really see how it's feeling over multiple different types of terrain, jumps, technical gnar, flow trails. I wait till I see how it feels on all those different types of trails and really get a good feeling for what the suspension is doing before I mess with like the compression and the rebound. Usually that's what I'll adjust. I'll end up taking just a little bit off the compression. And for the rebound for me, I like a fast rebound because I ride a lot of technical terrain. I'll only adjust the rebound if I feel that it's kind of like bucking me when I go off of more like poppy lips and jumps. So, dream bike build, was it worth it? I'm gonna have to take this thing on a couple more rides. I'm gonna have to get out to some trails that aren't covered in snow. Ashland, Oregon, here I come. Those trails are, like I said, are about an hour and a half from my house, so I'm gonna get to driving. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. See you guys on the next video. Hey, and let me guys know, do you guys like these more like honest, open, straight from the heart, like less flashy and scripted videos? Because that's what I like doing, you know, honest, open reviews from an average dude like you. Let me know, comment down below. I almost drove this bike right over the hill that very moment. I wanted to ride it so bad, man, not just to make the video, but for myself to really be able to take this thing out and see if building this dream bike was actually worth it. Like, how would that reach feel with that little bit shorter reach with this being a size large? How would the bike, all the components really feel when riding on the trail? Those questions were just burning in my head. But the truth is, you know, I have a wife, kids, full-time job, and to be honest with you guys, when it comes to riding, I'm really just a weekend warrior. I love to ride my mountain bike, but I'm lucky if I get to ride it once, maybe twice a week. That's just a reality for me. Hopefully you're getting it to go out and ride your bike more, but that's not the case for myself. So that meant I had to wait a whole nother week to finally take this bike out on a proper beat down ride. Finally took my dream bike out on a proper beat down ride, and I got a lot to say about this thing. If you guys watched my last video, you guys know I've been having a hell of a time taking this bike out on the trails. My local trails were covered in snow, so I drove about an hour and a half over the snowy mountain pass here to Ashland, Oregon, and rode from top to bottom. Had my wife drop me off at the very top of the trails up there. Bye, love you. So I was smashing all the way downhill, mostly downhill riding, which is kind of what I built this bike for, but I did have my chance to do a couple climbs, and that's when I ran into a couple serious issues. But let's start on the good note. I'm just gonna go over from top to bottom this build, each part and component, and how it performed, because the whole purpose of this dream build series was building a dream bike, my first time ever doing it, and really finding out if it was actually worth it. So the first thing, of course, we gotta talk about is the Privateer 141 Gen 2 frame set. I ordered this thing in a P3 size large. The geometry on this bike, it's got a 485 reach, which is a little bit shorter than I'm used to. I've been riding size XL bikes with like a 500 to 505 reach for a little while now, but I was pretty dang surprised with just how stable this bike still felt at speed. And it was a lot more fun with the size large and that 485 reach to kind of whip this bike around as I was bombing downhill. This bike has a 64.5 degree head tube angle, so the perfect amount of slack for bombing downhill. I really felt comfortable on this bike. Sometimes when you hop on a bike for the first time, it takes a little while to get used to it, but that was not the case. I felt right at home on this bike, super planted. All right, we've reached the most technical spot of this trail. That's really gonna allow me to feel how this bike, how the reach feels, because it's really steep, technical, and be on those brakes. See how that shorter reach, with this being a size large, with that little bit shorter reach than what I'm used to feels. And then also just see how this bike does on some super technical terrain. Like, how's that suspension gonna feel? How are those brakes gonna be stopping me? Let me show you what we're getting into right here. So understand the camera does not do this justice. Let me walk up it real quick. So this, as you can see, as I'm walking up this, you know, knee high to hip high, like rock sections, you gotta kind of drop in, pick your way down through. Line choice is critical, and we're gonna be smashing this thing from top to bottom on that new Privateer 141 down there. See how it does. Trying something a little different on this video, something a little different for mountain bike YouTube, using like no chesty POV style footage or very minimal. Instead, I'm doing these third person shots, running up and down the trails, setting up the camera. It's definitely a lot more work doing it this way, so leave a comment down below. Let me know if it's worth it, if you guys appreciate these angles, me kind of showing you the trails at a little bit, I think, better perspective. Look forward to hearing from you. Comment now. Oh, I almost forgot to mention, throughout this video, I was testing out this new HoverAIR Pro Max drone with this beacon and using what they call cycling mode to see how good it could actually follow me and track me down the trails. So that's the drone footage that I'm using throughout this video right here. Bottom line is, I think they still have some quirks to work out. It probably needs to be able to go just a little bit faster to keep up with me if we know when I'm flying down those like high-speed jump trails. But there's other spots on the trail where this thing really impressed me. It actually was doing pretty dang good. I love that top tube, how that top tube gives you plenty of, you know, a really low standover height, so the bike's just kind of easy to whip down around underneath you. Sometimes some bikes will have like a straight top tube that goes right here to the top of the seat tube, and you'll find your knees kind of knocking against the frame when you're really smashing down those steeper trails. So I love the angles on this frame, kind of the way it's set up. Other unique features on this bike is that external cable routing. External cable routing was quiet, didn't hear it rattling at all. The linkage on this bike, you can see this massive rocker link with these huge bearings right here. Felt really good, really stable on the way downhill. On the way uphill, I do have a climb switch on this coil shock, but no bobbing, no issues pedaling on the way uphill. Didn't even have to flip that climb switch. You can see on this bike that it has the flip chip right there for the 29 or the 27.5 inch wheel you can throw on the back. I have it set up with a 29 inch wheel. Another unique thing is it's got this additional flip chip right here, the adjustable rear center. So you can flip that around to make the chainstays longer. You can see I have it in the shorter setting, which gives me 445 mil rear center or chainstay length, and then if I flipped it, I can get the 455 chainstay length. So additional little adjustments you can do to this bike. I love that. I'll definitely try it with the mullet setup. I'll definitely try that adjustable rear center and see how it feels with a little bit longer rear center setup. One thing I would like to see on this frame is that you can see right there, it does have the, you know, down tube protection right there, but I would like to see the down tube protection come up just a little bit more, or maybe like some bikes I've seen, they have at least like one little piece right here for, you know, when you throw it over that tailgate pad of your truck, just a little bit of extra protection for the frame. Now you can see on that frame just how beefy those chain stays and those seat stays are. Everything on this bike, you can tell, is just beefed up, really made for that downhill smashing. Like, look at the bridge on that chainstay right there. Super thick, massive. Like, you're not gonna break this frame. This frame is built for, you know, just rowdy, downhill, aggressive, gravity focused riding, which is exactly what I love and why I got this bike. All right, let's move on and cover a couple other things, how this bike performed, things I liked, and then we'll get into the one major issue I had with this bike. Moving on to the wheels, you got the Hunt proven carbon enduro wheels. These things are feeling super stable, no flex, nothing but fun on the way downhill. I love the engagement on these, had a nice loud sounding hub. I kind of like those louder hubs. You guys like quiet hubs or loud? I kind of like that zzz, you know, kind of sound, and these definitely have that. For the tires on those proven wheels, I got the DHR Maxxis DHR 2.4 in the rear. This is only the EXO Plus protection. I probably should throw a double down at least on the back so I don't end up getting a pinch flat. And then on the front, I got the Assegai 29 by 2.5, and that's also in the EXO casing. Oh, and both of those are in the Max grip. So I got the Max grip right there, plenty soft enough. Wait, is the back the Max grip? Yeah, Max grip. Max grip front and rear, so nice soft compound. I love the DHR2 and the Assegai combo. The only issue I've had with these is with that Max grip compound, it does wear down pretty quick, and you do have to replace your tires, and they're not cheap. All right, now let's talk about the suspension on this bike. So I got the Fox DH-X2 coil rear shock with that, what is that, 500 by 2.4 inch coil. So the coil right there had the perfect amount of sag for me. I love the way that felt on the way downhill. Really was super plush, yet still, you know, wasn't blowing through that travel too quick. And when I was hitting jumps, really popping off those jumps. So I was loving the way that coil shock felt. And I always worry just a little bit when I take the air shock off of a frame, the air shock that was tuned and designed for that frame, and I put a coil shock on there like this. But I couldn't be happier with the way that coil shock was performing. This coil shock does have a firm switch on it right there, the climb switch, but never even used that on the way uphill. No bobbing, was pedaling pretty good on the way uphill. The fork, the Fox 36 factory fork with those orange lowers. Of course, you know, the reason why you get the orange lowers and that Kashima coating for an average rider like me is mostly for the looks. Let's be honest, you know, I'm not like a pro rider where I'm really gonna be able to tell the difference in those minor little things like Kashima, but it sure looks good. And I can tell you it felt really good on the way downhill, super plush off the top, yet wasn't blowing through my travel. Oh, I have the rebound and the compression right now set up at just factory recommended settings, and I don't feel the need to mess with those, but I'll wait a couple more rides. We'll see if maybe I need to tune the compression a little bit or mess with those rebound knobs. The contact points, I already talked about these a little bit in my last video. I got the SDG Bel Air V3 saddle. Love that saddle, was feeling great. Fits my sit bones right, just enough padding. Saddle was performing good, and it looks good with that orange, matching with the other orange bits and pieces. The Trail One pedals, massive amount of grip on these Trail One Sage alloy pedals. I'm now a fan. Hey, by the way, you guys, the stuff I'm going over on this bike, like especially Trail One, Crank Bros, Privateer, some of these companies, I always ask them to give me discount codes. So check the link in the video description. They are affiliate links. They do help the channel and help me, but it costs you nothing more, and then use that discount code, rack that stuff up and save yourself a little bit of money. The grips, the Hell's Gate, Trail One Hell's Gate grips, my very favorite set of grips. I just let you know, nice, thick, plenty of padding, got that extra little padding on the top right there, got the little, you know, ribbed section right here on the inside for the inside of your hands, you know, when you're kind of gripping in on those grips to hit jumps or whip the bike sideways. I love those grips, definitely recommend the Hell's Gate grips. Got the Trail One carbon bars on here, the Crockett carbon bars with the Rockville stem. This is a 40 mil stem that I put on there, and then I got the 35 mil rise on those Crockett carbon bars. And you can see, of course, you got the Wolf Tooth Components headset with that orange, looking oh so good. Okay, we're already up here in the cockpit, so gotta talk about the brakes. These are the new TRP Evo Pro brakes in the gold. 4-piston calipers. I got the 203 rotor up front with the TRP rotors, and then I got the 180 rotor back there in the rear. These brakes have this new little pad adjustment lever right here that you can rotate in and out. I noticed, you know, I tried rotating it all the way out, and then you got that kind of squish modulation, almost like a SRAM style brake, where the more you pull it, the more the brake kind of bites. So if you like adjusting your brakes and you like that SRAM type feel, it can give you that feel, or I adjusted it all the way the other way, and then it gives you more of that instant kind of grabby power that you're used to with like more of like a Shimano style brake, or at least that's the way I would compare it. I ended up going somewhere right in the middle of that fully opened and fully closed pad lever, and I like the way it's feeling right now. Another thing I liked about it is that sometimes on my bikes, like I'll feel like, oh, the front brake feels good, but the back brake, I wish it was biting just a little bit more. And this allows me to just kind of fine tune one brake over the other. Also on these brakes, got the cockpit super clean with the dropper post lever hooked right up to it. And then, you know, I rigged on the wireless shifter onto there using, you know, a mount that's not really designed for it. So the one complaint I do have is that this isn't set up like, I wish that could be angled up just a little bit more. I like how far it is out for shifting. Wish it could be angled up a little bit more. So I might have to find a different little, you know, attachment piece right there and see if I can get that tuned just right. All right, now let's talk about this on-bike tool right here. Crank Bros on-bike tool. Man, I love this thing. This thing is so cool. Pops out like that. Super easy to use. Pops right back in. On the other side over here, you got additional little storage. One thing I will say about this tool that I was a little bit frustrated about is that it doesn't fit a CO2 cartridge in this side. And it'd be pretty cool, I mean, if it was just a little bit bigger or somehow, or maybe make like a custom CO2 cartridge that would fit inside this tube right here. All right, now let's see. I covered just about everything, I think, except for the drivetrain and, you know, the shifting. And that is where I really, you know, have some issues with this bike. And there's definitely some things that I need to figure out, because the drivetrain, okay, let's just start with the positives. 165 mil cranks. These are Garbaroo Enduro cranks. Felt super stiff. I love the 165 length. Felt great pedaling on the way uphill. Felt super stable on the way back downhill. Oval chainring. I like the way that oval chainring is. I couldn't really tell the difference, but the bike was definitely climbing good. But somewhere in the back here, either like the cassette, or maybe I don't just have the have the wireless derailleur tuned right, or maybe it's that additional like flywheel I threw on there from Garber that wasn't really designed for this EDS wireless derailleur. But the shifting was just horrible, man. Like, if I kept super light on the pedals, it would shift easily up and down. Actually, it was shifting down the cassette easy no matter what. But if I kept super light on the pedals, it would shift easy up the cassette. But if I put any kind of force into that pedal while I was shifting, it was just grinding, making all sorts of crazy noises, and almost feeling like it was gonna drop a chain. Oh shit, that's not good. It's like when I shift under load, just having issues. Might be something I just can adjust and fix. Might be that I'm just mixing and matching like that Garber cassette with the new wheel top wireless shifter. I don't know, man. It was shifting good before this, before I tried to film it just now. Maybe it's camera shy. Now, surprisingly, I had a couple people comment on my last video that the funnest part of building a dream bike like this is the build, and then it's all downhill from there or something, or that like somehow like I wasn't gonna enjoy riding the bike, or I don't really know what those comments were about, man. I freaking love this bike. This bike was so much fun to ride. I'm so glad I did this. Was it worth it? I think absolutely yes. Following videos, I think I want to really start to go over all these fancy expensive parts I put on here. Like, were those brakes worth it? The TRP Evo Pro, like the highest level TRP brakes. Could I have gotten something a lot more affordable? You know, the Kashima on the dropper post, the factory fork, things like that. I don't know. You guys let me know. What do you guys want to see? What questions you guys have about this bike? Leave a comment down below. I'll get back to you guys and make those follow-up videos. But at the end of the day, remember, it's all about getting stoked, going riding, and having some fun, people. Those shifting issues, man. I've learned so much about working on my bike throughout this build series and over the years kind of fixing on bikes and building bikes, but sometimes the best thing to do, especially when you have a video you need to film, is just to take it into the pros. And, you know, big thanks to my local bike shop, Zach's Bikes, for helping me on this next video right here. So I built my dream bike, but it has one major issue I need help with. So today we're down at my local bike shop, Zach's Bikes, to help me fix it. All right, first let's start with going over the problem we're having, which is shifting under load. Oh shit, that's not good.
When you're like descending and stuff in your lower gears, is it fine? It's just in the bigger gears.
It's fine, and it'll shift down if I want to pick up to
So
speed.
like if you're like picking up speed downhill and one of the smaller cogs under load, it's not popping. It's just mainly under your climbing gears.
Yeah, it's just mainly in the climbing gears. All right, let's start troubleshooting this thing. I'll let you guys know what the issue actually was as we find out. All right, Zach's looking up on the Wheeltop website to look at the EDS specs to make sure we know how this the gap should be for the B gap on this. Let's go over the anatomy of like the derailleur, the different screws we got on here, and the different buttons and switches we have to be able to adjust this thing. On the back side, get that focused in for you, you have the B gap. That's the B gap adjustment. When you push that screw in, it's gonna adjust the entire derailleur, and it's gonna adjust the gap in between that pulley wheel and the cassette right there. And then on the back of the derailleur right here, you can see that it's got those screws right there. One is that's the high limit screw. That's the limit screw that's gonna limit how far the derailleur goes over, how far that chain goes over when it's in the highest cog right here. And then the low limit screw on this one is actually kind of sucks. You actually have to remove this cap right here, this cover, to be able to get to the low limit screw. But the limit screws are already good because the chain isn't popping over on the top and the chain isn't dropping over on the bottom. So the limit screws are good. So the only other thing it could be really is either that B gap adjustment, that B gap screw right there, or on this derailleur right here, you also have micro adjustments. So here goes the wireless shifting pad right here. You can see when you hit that, it moves the derailleur back and forth. Those are like the bigger clicks. And then it's got this button on the back of the derailleur right here. And when you hold that down for 5 seconds, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it gets you into the kind of micro shift settings on this. I don't think I held it down long enough, but you can get that micro shift settings, and that'll let you kind of fine tune how far the derailleur moves over when you hit that shift button. Oh, so much better. It's really that 11th cog had like a little bit of a jump right there, but it's shifting so much better right now. Let me try it one more time. It's just that 11th one.
Okay, we should be able to fix that.
Hey, I just want to give a big thanks to Zach's Bikes, my local bike shop here. They sell Trek bikes, and the sales right now, you guys, they have Trek Fest going on right now, and these sales on these bikes are just ridiculous. Like, check out that Fuel EX7 right there. Fuel EX7 is on sale for $24.99, down from $36.99. If you're ever here in the local area, definitely come check these guys out. They also demo bikes and they sell their demo bikes. So that's a good way for you to be able to get out on one of these bikes, figure out the right size, figure out if you like it, figure out, you know, if you're stuck in between maybe like a Fuel EX or a Top Fuel or a Slash. The best way is actually to get out, demo the bike, test it out, and figure out which one you like. So just had to make that plug real quick for my local bike shop here. Let's get back to fixing the shifting issues I got on my dream bike build. All right, so the fix. So what did we have to do to get this thing fixed, Zach?
Gotcha, yeah, so I mean at first we thought it was a B-gap issue, which it definitely was way too close, but after riding it, it was still shifting really poorly. So we kind of just went back to the drawing board and started fresh with this derailleur. And almost immediately I realized what the problem was. The initial calibration was off on the derailleur, which is probably was sent to you like that, and it could have just been a step that was missed upon install. But the way this EDS works is they have an initial calibration you have to do through the app, starting in the smallest cog, gear 1, gear 12, whatever you want to call it. And then once that's set perfectly, you have to make your adjustments from that. If that's never set perfectly, the rest of the drivetrain, the gap between each cog is wrong.
So I messed it up when I set it up initially.
So in other words, yeah, you set up that first cog in the initial calibration, and then once that's set up, you go into your limit screw and you back that up against it so it can't come into the frame. Once that's set up, it actually shifted through all 12 gears pretty reasonably okay at that point. But to get it shifting perfectly from there, it's really, honestly, it's almost a two-person job. You kind of have to have one of your buddies or yourself shift one gear at a time, and if the shift is either slow going up or slow coming down, you need to go back to that gear and then do the micro adjustment, either adding what we would call cable tension or taking cable tension away until it's smooth shifting up and down in that gear. I think 11 might be a little too much. Bring 11 down just a bit. So I mean, setting this derailleur up can take a lengthy process. That being said, I rode the EDS V1 for months, and I actually liked it better than my SRAM. So I mean, if you're looking for a drivetrain that's affordable, just go into it with the expectation knowing that this is probably going to not be easy to set up. It may take a day or two, a couple rides to get perfect, or you know, have help from somebody who's more familiar with this drivetrain. But yeah, I mean, for the price of this drivetrain, I say it's worth it. But if you want to just slap a derailleur on and do a quick setup and go, I would stick with the tried and true SRAM, Shimano, or TRP drivetrains.
And that was in the
yeah,
app. That's where you're doing the fine-tune calibration.
Each 12 gears has its own individual calibration, a range of calibration.
Does SRAM have that same thing?
It doesn't, yes. And I think the reason being is SRAM is 12-speed only. Oh. And they expect you to use their cassette. So they already know the ratio or the gap between each cog, and the derailleur's sent to you like that. So with the SRAM stuff, all you're really doing is you're setting up your low limit and high limit, and then if it's just not shifting up fast enough, you just adjust that one, and then it adjusts for every cog.
Like similar to like a normal drivetrain.
Yeah, exactly.
normal
Yeah, so it's
derailleur.
identical to a normal drivetrain. The only difference with the electronic SRAM stuff is your cable tension, because you don't have a cable to adjust that barrel adjuster, is the same process as this, but it adjusts for the entire cassette range, not just each individual gear.
So throughout the entire process of this build, the question is building a dream bike actually worth it? And in today's episode, I think we're focused more on the drivetrain, specifically the wheel-top EDS. Is the wheel-top EDS wireless derailleur upgrade kit actually worth it? I was so excited to see somebody actually trying to compete with SRAM, and this is a little bit more budget-friendly option. Still not cheap, but definitely a little bit more affordable than SRAM, that I really wanted to try this thing out. I really wanted to love it. But the bottom line is, it's a little bit harder to set up. So is it worth it? Maybe, if you're handy enough to really be able to get into the app and fine tune and set this thing up. I mean, look at me, to be honest. I had to come down to my local bike shop to be able to get this thing dialed in just right. So big thanks to Zach's Bikes for helping me film this video, getting this bike dialed in. In future videos, I'll give you guys more long-term reviews on this wheel-top EDS, but right now, is it worth it? Would I have been happier going with like a Shimano, or like wired drivetrain, just like your standard, you know, cable actuated drivetrain? Maybe? I don't know. What do you guys think? Leave a comment down below. Since that day, my bike has been shifting so much better. Now, I will admit, the best shifting I've ever had is on a Shimano, your standard wired Shimano XT drivetrain. And the wireless shifting, I don't think it's ever gonna shift as good as that. But the wireless setup allows me to have one less cable, gives me a super clean look on this bike. So it definitely was a choice of form over function. And that's an issue I addressed in this very next video. So I built my dream bike, and this was my first time ever building a complete bike from the frame up. And these are 7 lessons I learned, things I wish I would have known before I ever turned that first wrench. Lesson number 1, and this is a big one: invest in the right tools. I got so caught up picking all those shiny parts, pieces, components that I overlooked some essential tools I was gonna need to complete this build. Things like a headset press, or the right size hex bit to install those cranks down there, the barb tool you use to install the little barb on the end of those hydraulic brakes. Luckily, my local bike shop bailed me out, let me borrow some tools, and helped me complete this build. But trust me, do your homework before you start building a bike. Get the right tools. It's gonna save you a lot of time, money, and potential damages to your bike. I had this cheap 3-way tool I was using. It's cool, it's super convenient. It's got 3 different bits on it. You can actually flip those bits around to have even 6 different options for bit options. Super quick, convenient. I've kept this thing on my tool bench, and I use it sometimes to work on my bike. But the bits are just, they're not machined, I guess, precise enough, so they didn't fit quite good enough in the brake levers, and I ended up like kind of marring the, not stripping it out, but like almost starting to strip out the bolt a little bit on those expensive brakes. Using a cheap tool like this, get the right tools. Lesson number 2, and this is where that dream bike look that I was going for almost tripped me up. Form over function. You never want a bike that looks better than it actually performs. When I chose the Privateer 141 Gen 2 frame set, it was all about functionality. Bomb-proof design, super easy maintenance with external cable routing, flip chips for that adjustable geometry, allowing you to throw a 27.5 wheel in the back also if you want to. But it wasn't long before shiny parts started calling my name. I already had the Fox Factory 36 fork with the Kashima stanchions and those orange lowers. So I definitely wanted to go with that kind of orange and Kashima look. And don't get me wrong, the bike looks amazing, but I definitely made some choices to keep this bike looking good that I'm now questioning. Like that fancy dropper post back there, Kashima coating. I could have saved a lot of money going with, a P&W dropper post, something that doesn't have that Kashima, but I just had to get it. to keep, this bike looking the way I wanted. Definitely chose form over function. Or what about like that Garbaroote cassette back there? That Wheeltop EDS wireless shifter. I went with wireless because I wanted like less cables, but having that combo of that wireless shifting with that 12-speed cassette has been, way more of a pain to set up and get shifting smoothly. Definitely was something I chose for looks, and if I had to do it all over again when building this bike, functionality and performance would have been my top priority. Lesson number 3, time and patience is your best friend. I was so meticulous ordering this frame and all the bits and pieces, making sure everything was just right. But as soon as those boxes started arriving, I got major build fever and I couldn't wait any longer. I had a couple parts that were delayed and I decided to just start wrenching and building the bike anyways before everything even arrived. I started rushing, led to mistakes. Case in point, I ended up smashing an olive when I was fitting that brake line in there and found out later, that it was leaking hydraulic fluid, had to pull the brakes all the way back apart. I really wish I would have just taken my time. Rushing only leads to errors that are going to cost you more time in the long run. Lesson number 4, and this is a tough one for my pride. Let me know if you guys can resonate with this. Don't be afraid to ask for help. I've been tinkering with bikes for years now, but a frame up build is a completely different beast. I was determined to do this all myself, and when I ran into some issues with like the crank spacing and trying to get that chain line just right, I beat my head against the wall for way too long. Luckily, I have a couple friends I ride with that are pro mechanics down at the local bike shop, and big thanks to them, I wouldn't have been able to complete this build without sucking up my pride and finally asking for help. If I had to do this build all over again, I would have asked them for help from the get-go. Right from the start, asked them to help me build this bike, help me troubleshoot those little problem areas that I might have had, maybe even have them help me like film on the other side of the camera here, because sometimes making these videos, setting the camera up, getting all the different angles complicates the build process that much more. Now on to lesson number 5, and this is an important one for any of you first-time bike builders out there. Making mistakes is all a part of the bike building process. This was my first time doing a complete build from the frame up, and yeah, I definitely had some oops moments. But honestly, those little screw-ups have made me a better mechanic, gave me a better understanding of the bike, and are gonna help me build bikes better in the future. So don't be intimidated by doing a bike build like this, and don't be discouraged when you make mistakes. See those mistakes as opportunities to learn. Lesson number 6, and this is for anybody putting themselves out there, don't listen to the haters. We all have our dream bikes, whether it's something off the shop floor or a custom build like this one behind me. I got a couple comments of people criticizing this dream bike build, or maybe criticizing the specific components I chose to put on this frame. But you know what? At the end of the day, this is my dream bike build, not yours. And how boring would it be if we all showed up to the trailhead with the same exact stock bike? Build what you love, ride what you love, and don't let anyone else rain on your parade. And finally, the biggest lesson of all, lesson number 7, I learned the incredible satisfaction of DIY. Selecting everything yourself, every piece and part, exactly the way you want it. Building a true, one-of-a-kind bike that only you have. Installing each part and component and kind of watching that bike together, watching that dream come alive. It is an unbelievably rewarding experience. Woo! That thing is looking so good out here in the sunlight. There's a real sense of accomplishment, like riding something that you built completely from the frame up yourself. I've purchased plenty of bikes from local bike shops or online retailers, and nothing comes even close to comparing to that feeling you get when you build your very first dream bike. And if you guys have ever built a dream bike yourself, I would love to hear your comments down below. Let me know, like, what was your favorite part of building a dream bike? Did you regret it? Was it worth it? I really felt like that last video in the series was just packed with some amazing information. it never quite took off and got the views I felt it deserved. So if you guys ever see a video like that, definitely like and share it with your friends. Those lessons learned, I feel like a lot of people could benefit from watching that and from the comments you guys left with the lessons you guys have learned building your bike. Anyways, you guys, thank you so much for supporting me throughout this. If you guys haven't subscribed yet, subscribe to the channel right now. I hope these videos help you get stoked to go ride and have some fun, people.